Assessment theory helps us to understand what assessments are better and when and how we can use them. It also guides us in how we need to go about assessing ourselves as educators and assessing our learners. Assessment theory for me is important classroom processes and outcomes. It teaches us the importance of assessments and impact they have on our school, as well as how these can assist us to better ourselves as educators and to see how our learners are coping from time to time. One in assessment theory was the introduction to assessments. We learned about different definitions such as assessment, assessor, evaluation, CAPS, and to moderate. Unit 1 helped us to build our toolkit to be able to gain knowledge of assessments to assist us in creating our knowledge assessment tasks. We also learned about the theories which influence the method of assessment. For me, this assessment taught me a lot and made me aware of what words teachers use all the time mean. It actually gave me a broader understanding of what assessment really is, as well as the responsibilities of moderators and how to evaluate. What are learning aims and cognitive development? We tend to see these in our daily lives but don't really know the true actual meaning. There are three domains: cognitive, affective, and physiomotor. Educators mostly use the cognitive level. Cognitive has 6 levels: knowledge, comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. In Unit 2, we learned about Bloom's taxonomy. We completed a task of defining different types of assessments. I learned of many new types of assessments. We were taught 2 types of taxonomies of assessment: original taxonomy and solo taxonomy. Original taxonomy is also known as Bloom's taxonomy. It was created by a team of cognitive psychologists at the University of Chicago. Benjamin Bloom was the chairman of the committee. The solo structure stands for the structure of observed outcomes. There are 3 levels of understanding: surface, deep, and conceptual learning. In the surface level, the task will be improperly approached and the learner needs help to start. In the deep and conceptual level, unstructured and multi-structural is when the learner brings the information to be able to understand. In the unstructured level, one aspect of the task will be picked up, but the learner's understanding is not there, and in the multi-structural level, a lot of the aspects are understood, but the relationship to each other and the task is missed. The definitions made me aware of what I call a teacher's dictionary. These are words and terms every teacher needs to know and understand to be a successful educator and to be able to understand what is needed of you. This was a great start to assessment theory. Unit 2 was something I enjoyed. I loved doing research and reading up. Bloom's taxonomy was rather interesting and taught me a lot of cognitive development, which is very important as most educators tend to use this in the classroom. The defining part was lovely, as we do assessment but don't even know into which category they fall and are so stuck on one way of assessing learners when there are so many out there and we can make learners feel comfortable. Unit 3 was based on policy documents which guided assessments for learning. We read the national policy documents which guided assessments for learning. We read the national policy to become familiar for our assessment planning for the future. The activity helped us to get a better understanding of the policy guide because we had to explain it in our own words. This unit was for me the hardest and least favorite. I found it very challenging and the assessment very tough. There needs to be a challenge at times to spice things up. I think I will spend a bit more of my time trying to work through the national policy documents to understand them a lot better. Unit 4 taught us how to use the assessment to guide our teaching to better facilitate learning in the classroom, how we need to use assessment to drive instruction. We learned how assessment occurs consistently throughout summative assessments. We need to assess children's readiness, interests, and their learner profile. This unit was a good unit and taught us a lot of how we can improve as educators as well as how we can go about doing continuous assessment so learners take their learning seriously and do not only focus on exam times. It taught us how to reflect, assess our teaching, improve and get feedback. This would assist us in finding the way forward. In Unit 5, we focused on collecting and reporting results. We created a workshop for teachers on assessment results. We needed to explain them how to collect it, present it, and use it. I thoroughly enjoyed this task because I had knowledge of what is needed and how to collect results, present and use it. Working in a school has given me the experience in how it is done. The workshop itself I felt a bit tough because I did not know if I approached it correctly. I knew what was needed to be able to record results and how schools like it done. I'm not really a talker, so designing the workshop was pretty hard. The information was there, but the workshop itself tough. At 6, we were able to understand the differences we will experience of learner diversity, needs, and interests. We learned how to teach learners with different learning abilities and the different skills different learners have. Each child has a different level of skills. This unit was really nice because it actually taught me a lot of what kids could be like, what type of skills they could have, which would make me a better teacher one day because I would have some knowledge of what children can be like. We wrote an essay as our task, and it was interesting because it made us think of what we would do in certain situations if we were placed in those situations in the classroom with learners of these types. Unit 7 was on strategies to use in our classroom. We researched on promoting learning and achievement through self-assessment. Assessment theory for me was not what I assumed it would be. I thought it would teach us how to set up assessments and how to go about them, but this journey was awesome because I learned what assessment theory really is, and it taught me a great deal, especially being in the profession of teaching. I learned a lot about learners, of how to deal with them, the skills that they might have, the abilities they might have, how to deal with them. I learned about different types of assessments that we can use so that it's not the same old things that we keep on doing, and that children can feel comfortable with the types of assessments that they are doing, because every child is different, every child's level is different, so we can give each child a fair opportunity.